pride of the people.
Yes, an amazing Monday morning to you listeners out there. The program you're onto is In the Papers on iPower 102.7 FM. It is a program where we preview and review headlines and news making rounds in the papers for your listening pleasure. I am Inioluwa Adekoya, and with me this morning is
Florence Ibhareman.
This morning, I've got with me talking headlines. I've got with me the Oab newspaper, the Punch newspaper, the Daily Post newspaper, and the Guardian newspaper. We have
headlines from the Nation's newspaper this morning, Daily Post, the Cable newspaper, the Sun newspaper, the Punch newspaper, and the Hope newspaper this Monday morning.
Right about now, I would go on a short break. When I get back, we will read out to you the list of headlines we've got for you this morning in the papers. Yes, beginning this morning from the top of the list of our headlines on the Punch newspaper, talking Oshunpo victory, Adeleke extends olive branch, APC most tribunal challenge.
Still taking headlines, and from the Hope newspaper this morning, talking federal government. Federal government reaffirms commitment to security, diaspora engagement.
And now talking 2027, Council explains OB Alliance declares Ganduje Yusuf finished, and that is on the Punch newspaper.
Yeah, joining you on the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have woman arrested for stealing newborn in Kebbi State.
Still on the Punch newspaper and still in Osun State, Osun woman found dead with severed hands inside church.
Yes, talking about church, we have security agencies must act against provocative religious remark, and that is coming from Pastor Anichi.
Still on the Punch newspaper, Tinubu bets on PH Warri refineries despite Obasanjo's doubts.
Talking Osun State from the Sun newspaper this morning, where we have APC weighs option as Tinubu, OB, NGF, Duke, Ashimi, and others hails Adeleke.
Yes, and now to international matters. U.S. missionary kidnapped in Niger reunited with wife returning home, says Trump.
Still taking headlines from the Hope newspaper, where we have from the Sun newspaper, where we have WK/C of all waiting time as FCT possesses 26,772 titles.
Yes, and now to the nation's newspaper talking Tinubu. Adeleke's victory shows a deepening democracy.
Where we have UBEC open second chance education pathway for out of school children, and that headline is coming from the Sun newspaper this morning.
And now moving to Lagos State, Lagos to expand specialist healthcare capacity with Ojo Shomolu hospitals.
Yes, so talking sport on the Sun newspaper, where we have a transfer window. Galatasaray president gives update on Osime's future.
Yeah, still on the nation's newspaper talking communities as communities seek probe of a man's death.
Yes, talking Oshun Poll, where we have this coming to you from the Guardian newspaper. Oshun Poll set stage for 2027 election, and that is coming from Timmy Frank.
Still on the nation's newspaper, Unizik condemns lecturers' alleged sexual misconduct.
We would go on a short break. When we come back, we'll give you the headlines and the stories therein.
Yes, glad to have you back. The program is in the papers on iPower 102.7 FM. Beginning on the top of the list of our news this morning, we've got...
Yes, we have this coming to you from the Hope newspaper, talking federal government. Federal government reaffirms commitment to security, diaspora engagement. Now the details. The federal government has reiterated its commitment to prioritizing security and nesting the Nigerian diaspora as a crucial asset for national development and deepening strategic partnership anchored on mutual respect and trust. This is contained in a statement issued on Sunday by the Special Assistant, Media and Strategic Communication to the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Richard Elisha, quoting the Minister, Ambassador Shola Enikonloye, during an address at the dinner night of the Nigerian Diaspora Economic Conference in Toronto, Canada. The minister stated that security remains a major challenge, but reaffirmed that the current administration was doing everything humanly possible to ensure that we contain these that have been with us in a multifaceted manner for the past 10 years or so. The minister said the strategic engagement was aimed at delivering core, concrete, positive outcome for Nigerians in terms of security, in terms of prosperity, in terms of defense, and the welfare of the Nigerian people. On the Nigerian diaspora, the minister emphasized that under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, the government viewed Nigerians abroad not as a burden, but as a vital contributor to the national progress. The minister called for stronger unity among Nigerians at home and abroad, urging citizens to break down barriers of ethnicity, religion, and tribe. He also acknowledged the role of Canada and other partners in fostering more productive partnership in the way of mutual respect and cooperation. Going forward, he commended stakeholders contributing to Nigerians' development. For details of that news, see the Hope newspaper with this headline. Federal government reaffirms commitment to security and diaspora engagement.
Yes, so now to the Punch newspaper. Oshunpo victory and Adeleke extend Olive Branch. APC moves tribunal challenge. And now to the details. Governor Ademola Adeleke has appealed for peace and unity in Osun State after his re-election, even as the All Progressives Congress weigh its legal options after losing Saturday's governorship election. INEC declared Adeleke winner after he secured victory in 19 of the state's 30 local government areas, while Oyebamiji won in the remaining 11 council areas. The declaration made by the state's returning officer, Professor Joshua Ogunwole, Vice Chancellor of the Federal University Oye-Ekiti, came on Sunday confirming Adeleke's return for the second term in office. President Bola Tinubu congratulated Adeleke on his victory, describing the outcome as a reflection of the confidence the people of Osun State have in the governorship. Tinubu, who said he personally called the governor to congratulate him, urged to use his second term to unite the people and the state and work with residents regardless of the political affiliations. In a statement signed by a special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, the president said he personally called Adeleke to congratulate him following the declarations of the result. Tinubu wished the governor success as he begins a fresh 4-year term and charged him to govern inclusively regardless of how residents voted. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline, Oshunpo victory at Adeleke extends Olive Branch APC Mills Tribunal challenge.
El-Rufai demands family assets. El-Rufai demands family assets, 100 billion naira damage from ICPC. Now the details. Former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has filed a fresh 10 billion naira fundamental rights suit against the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission over alleged denial of access to his wife and son while in custody. In a suit marked FHC/APJ/CS/1852/2026, the filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja on August 13. El-Rufai alleged that the ICPC prevented his wife and son from visiting him. The former governor, through his lawyer Ubong Akpan, also joined the ICPC chairman and the Attorney General of the Federation as the second and third defendant, respectively. El-Rufai is seeking a 9 relief, including declaration that his fundamental rights guaranteed under the Part 4 of the 1999 Constitution remained enforceable despite his detention. He alleged that the repeated refusal to allow his family member access to him, particularly to provide food, medications, and other necessities without lawful justification or a court order violated his right under Section 34 and 37 of the Constitution and Article 5 and 18 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. He also alleged that ICPC officers physically restrained and intimidated his wife and son on July 7, describing the incident as an arbitrary interference with his spouse and his filial relationship. El-Rufai asked the court to declare that the respondent continued denial of family access without lawful authority is unconstitutionally illegal, null and void. He further sought an order directing the respondent to grant him unhindered and reasonable access to family to his members of the family and council throughout the period of his detention, as earlier directed by the Federal High Court. According to the former governor, the alleged denial of access had prevented his wife and son from giving him food, medication, and other necessities while in custody. He further alleged that the respondent acted arbitrarily, unlawfully, and in a manner inconsistent with Section 34, 37, and 46 of the Constitution and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. For more details of that news, see the Punch newspaper this morning with this headline: El-Rufai demands family access, 10 billion naira damage from ICPC.
And now talking 2027, Konkoso explains to be alliance declares Danduje Yusuf finished. And now to the details. Former Kano State Governor and 2027 Nigerian Democratic Congress Vice Presidential candidate Dr. Rabiu Kwankwaso has said his decision to pair with Peter Obi in the next year's presidential election was driven by national interest, equity, and the need for political change. He also declared the former governors Ibrahim Shekarau and Abdullahi Ganduje, as well as incumbent Governor Abba Yusuf, have lost their political relevance in Kano State. Vice President candidate of the National Democratic Congress in the 2027 election, Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso, says former governors Ibrahim Shekarau and Abdullahi Ganduje, as well as the incumbent governor Abba Yusuf, are politically finished in the state. Kwankwaso stated this while reflecting on the political fortunes of former members of his political family who had fallen out with him. While featuring on News Agency of Nigerian Personality interview series in Abuja, he said his decision to be running mate to be in the 2027 election was based on national balance, equity, and democratic change. He explained that his experience from the 2020 of them could work together in the interest of the country. Kwankwaso, a former Kano State governor, said the decision was also influenced by the need to allow the South to retain former President Muhammad. My experience is very important in the 2023. We attempted to work together, and at that particular point I knew little about Peter Obi. But over the last 4 years, I was able to learn a lot and realized that Peter is somebody I could work together with. He said the decision was reached after consultation with members of the Kwankwaso movement, supporters of New Nigerian People's Party, and the Obedient movement. He said the group believed that the country needed a balanced ticket capable of attracting support from both the North and the South. Kwankwaso said the security challenges confronting the country, alongside declining agricultural productivity and deteriorating infrastructure, had further strengthened his resolve to support a political arrangement capable of bringing democratic change. He said economic hardship had particularly affected farmers, especially in northern Nigeria, where agricultural production had become increasingly difficult and unprofitable. The former defense minister said that the dilapidation of infrastructure across the country, except in some areas such as Lagos, was another reason for agreeing to pair with Peter Obi. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline 2027 Kwankwaso explains Obi alliance declares Ganduje Yusuf finished.
Yes, now taking this headline from the Daily Post newspaper, talking account freeze. Tinubu called me. Governor Adeleke withdraws case against EFCC. Now the details. Re-elected Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has announced that he has instructed the State Attorney General to withdraw the lawsuit against the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, concerning the freezing of the state government's bank accounts. Adeleke revealed this during an interview on Channels Television Sunday's Politics, shortly after he was declared winner of the August 15 governorship election. When asked if he was prepared to move past the political dispute and the EFCC case, the governor expressed his decision to proceed forward following President Bola Tinubu's intervention. Previously, the governor had contested the EFCC's action, labeling it a politically motivated and determinant of his administration's operation. In response to concerns regarding the timing of the freezing of the account freeze, which occurred just before the Osun governorship election, President Bola Tinubu directed the anti-graft agency to lift the restriction and cease the associated legal proceedings. Regarding allegations that some of his supporters and officials were being summoned and interrogated by the EFCC, Adeleke mentioned that he had instructed his legal team to offer the necessary support. For more details, see Daily Post newspaper talking account fees. Tinubu called me. Governor Adeleke withdraws case against EFCC.
Yes, still in Osun State, Osun woman found dead with severed hands inside church. And now to the details. An unidentified woman has been found dead inside the church premises in Obalewo area of Osogbo, Osun State, with her left wrist reportedly cut off. Recent report learned the statement by the Nigerian Police Force Public Relations Officer Ani Iniedu that police detectives visited the scene following the discovery of the body. According to the statement, preliminary investigations revealed that the deceased had allegedly been slaughtered while her left wrist was severed and taken away by unknown persons. The FPRO noted that the circumstances surrounding the woman's death and the motive behind the killings were yet to be ascertained. He said, and I quote, the investigation revealed that the deceased was slaughtered and her left wrist severed and taken away by unknown persons. The FPRO added that efforts were ongoing to establish the identity of the deceased and uncover the circumstances surrounding her death. It is disclosed that the corpse was subsequently taken to the hospital for further examination. It noted that the State Command Investigation Department had begun investigation into the incident. Recent report in May 2015 that a lady was found dead and dumped in a drainage along OGTV Road in Abeokuta, in Ogun State capital, with parts mutilated. Our newsman had learnt from a source that residents woke up to the gory sight. The source had noted that details of how she was dropped there could not be ascertained, but upon closer examination, they realized that a part had been cut off. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline, Osun woman found dead with severed hands inside church.
Yes, taking headlines from the Sun newspaper this morning, talking federal government, WK/CFO. Waiting time as FCT processes 26,272 titles. Now the details. The Federal Capital Territory FCT administration has reduced the waiting period for land owners to obtain certificate of occupancy (COO) to 2 weeks as part of reforms aimed at removing bottlenecks in property documentation and improving the ease of doing business. The reform comes as the administration under the FCT Minister Ansam Wike records 26,272 certificates of occupancy signed by President Bola Tinubu as he assumes office. The figure represents a significant increase over the 8,697 CFOs produced and signed between 2010 and 2023. With the current administration processing 17,575 more certificates than were signed during the preceding 30-year period. Senior Special Assistant to the Federal the FCT Minister on Public Communication and Social Media, Larry Olayinka, disclosed this in a statement on Sunday. Olayinka said the new process allows land allotted to alloyees who have completed the required payment to obtain the certificate of occupancy within 2 weeks. He added that the administration had introduced an automated notification system to alert alloyees who when the documents were ready for collection, further reducing the need for repeated visit to the government office. The development is expected to have a direct impact on property owners and business that relies on land title to assess finances. For details of that news, see the Sun newspaper with this headline. Wike slashes C of all waiting time as FCT possesses 26,272 titles.
Yes, so now back to the Punch newspaper with this headline. Tinubu bets on PH worry refineries despite Obasanjo's doubt. And now to the details. President Bola Tinubu has disagreed with former President Olusegun Obasanjo over claims that the state-owned Port Harcourt, Warri and Kaduna refineries may never work in what appeared to be Tinubu's first clear position on the viability of the three refineries which have produced moribund despite billions spent on turnaround maintenance. The president insisted that the facilities will return to operation. Recent reports that Tinubu made his position known when he received the executive president of the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, Salimon Oladiti, and members of the union at the presidential villa, Abuja. The president's declaration is coming against the backdrop of repeated doubts expressed by Obasanjo about the ability of Port Harcourt, Warri and Kaduna refineries to operate successfully, despite the huge sums that have been committed to their rehabilitation over the years. Tinubu stated, and I quote, the refineries you mentioned are going to come back to work. We just building a very firm research and structural reworking of the economy of it. Ordinary flame and smoke of a refinery does not mean it is working until it is profitable and use the value for which it is built. He said he would not bother to look back into what has happened in the past about the failed rehabilitation of the refinery, saying, I am not a man who looks because I have accepted the asset and liability of many refineries. It doesn't mean it is working until it is profitable and yields a value for which it is built. He said he would not bother to look back into what has happened in the past about the failed rehabilitation of the refinery, saying he is not a man who looks back because he has accepted the asset and liability of the predecessor. Tinubu's position is different from Obasanjo's long-standing argument that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited cannot successfully operate the government-owned refineries. Obasanjo recently reiterated this position in an interview with newsmen, arguing that public-private partnership offered a better model for running major government assets. Obasanjo's position was based partly on his experience as president between 1999 and 2007, when his administration attempted to transfer the management and ownership of the refineries to private investors. According to him, he approached Shell to take a 10% equity stake and run the refineries, but the oil major declined. He subsequently asked the company to operate the facilities without taking equity, but it also rejected newspaper with the headline, Tinubu bets on PH worry refineries despite Obasanjo's doubt.
You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM, situated live in Imorele, Owo, Ondo State. We would go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue the rest of the news and the headlines therein. Yes, so glad to have you back. The program is in the papers on iPower 102.7 FM, your daily drive for news making major headlines in today's newspaper. Yes, still on taking headlines from the Punch newspaper this morning. Security agencies must act against provocative religious remark, and that is coming from Ineche. Now the details. The senior pastor of Dunamis International Gospel Center, Paul Ineche, has criticized security agencies for failing to invite Islamic cleric Sheikh Mohammed over his recent comment advocating a Muslim-Muslim political arrangement in Nigeria. Ineche, who spoke during a sermon on Sunday, said security agencies should have acted against a statement capable of provoking religious tension and violence in the country. The pastor described as unacceptable the suggestion that Christianity should be regarded as subordinate to any religion in Nigeria, insisting that Christians constitute a significant part of the country's population. He said, and I quote, "Christianity is not secondary, and no group of religion fanatics will ever make it secondary. Not you, not any political group of people will ever make Christianity secondary to any." NHA also questioned why security agencies had not invited the clergy for questioning over his comment, arguing that allowing individuals to make what he described as reckless statements without consequences could threaten national peace. The pastor added that authorities should have taken steps to establish whether the comment could incite violence rather than allowing the speaker to continue making such statements publicly. The pastor further warned against taking the Christianity community for granted, saying Nigerians had remained calm despite what he described as a provocative statement. If that story aligns with your interests, it is on the pages of the Punch newspaper with this headline: Security agencies must act against a provocative religious remark. And that is coming from Ineche.
Yes, so now I take a flight to the Daily Post newspaper. FCT weekly signs 26,272 certificates of occupancy under Tinubu. Yes, moving away from that, where we've got another one coming from the Daily Post newspaper, and this is coming from the Lagos State Government. Lagos Government moves against illegal use of dealer number plate. And now to the details. Lagos State Government has renewed its warning against the permanent or routine use of dealer number plates by motorists and automobile dealers across the state. The Director of Public Affairs, Lagos State Ministry of Transport, Bolanle Ogunlola, disclosed this in a statement. Ogunlola urged motorists and vehicle dealers to ensure that dealers' registration plates were used strictly for purpose permitted under the law, warning that their misuse would attract sanctions. She explained that the Lagos State Transport Sector Reform Law 2018 limits the use of dealers' plates to specific activities within defined periods. According to our approved uses include authorized vehicle test drives, inspection, delivery or collection of vehicles, as well as the movement of unregistered vehicles directly from port or licensed dealership premises to approved destination. She stressed that dealer plates could not legally be used for routine private transportation or unrestricted movement along public roads. According to her, the dealer plates recovered from the affected vehicles would be confiscated, while the vehicles would be subjected to further investigation. Ogunlola also warned motorists against operating vehicles with unauthorized counterfeit, concealed and improperly displayed registration numbers. She said violators could face enforcement measures, including vehicle impoundment and prosecution under applicable traffic laws. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, Lagos Government moves against illegal use of dealer number plates.
Yes, still taking headlines from the Sun newspaper talking 2027. KBAPC replaces a deputy governor. Now the details. The All Progressive Congress (APC) has changed the running mate of KB State Governor Dr. Nasiril Idris ahead of the 2027 general elections with the former Commissioner of Finance Alhaji Ibrahim Oji, who is also from Argungu Emirate, to replace the incumbent Deputy Governor Senator Umaru Abubakar Tafidat, who will finish a single term with Governor Idris. The replacement was confirmed by Governor Idris himself during a meeting with stakeholders from Argungu Emirate on Sunday in Biri Kebbi. Speaking with newsmen after the meeting, Governor Idris disclosed that they arrived at the decision with the approval of the incumbent deputy governor and the party leaders. According to him, so we have discussed with the deputy governor and his people, and we all agreed. We even gave him the benefit of doubt to choose anybody of his choice to replace him when the time comes. For details of that news, see the Sun newspaper with today's headline, Talking 2027, KBAPC replaces deputy governor.
And moving to the Daily Trust newspaper, talking flood, residents stranded, vehicles submerged in Abuja. And now to the details. Heavy downpour in Abuja flooded several parts of the Federal Capital Territory, disrupting vehicular movement, trapping motorists and forcing some businesses to temporarily shut as water overwhelmed roads and drainage channels. Among the worst affected were Wuse 1 and Wuse 2 in the city centre, as well as parts of Durumi, Gadua and Gudu districts. Motorists were stranded on flooded roads, while residential and business properties were also affected. A resident of Kampala Street of Adetokumbo Ademola Crescent, Wuse 2, Abubakar Musa, told newsmen that many vehicles stranded on the road remained there for hours after the rainfall, with some developing mechanical fault. He added that the bridge around the Diamond Bank area of Wuse 2 was almost submerged, forcing motorists to navigate one lane of the road in an attempt to avoid the worst flooded section. At the Delight Event Center in Guru, several vehicles parked within the premises were reportedly submerged by flood water. In some locations, residents and passers-by were seen helping motorists push their vehicles away from flood water, while others abandoned their vehicles after the water rose to a dangerous level. Video circulating online showed motorists moving slowly through deep flood waters, while people gathered around stranded vehicles to assist those affected. The flood also caused significant difficulty for motorists attempting to enter or leave the affected areas. Reacting to the development, Emeka Ik Umer said part of Wuse 2 were flooded following the heavy rainfall, adding that some expensive vehicles were submerged. Umer also expressed concerns about the conversion of green areas in Abuja for other development, saying changes in land use could be contributing to the city flooding challenges. It described the situation as worrying and called on the FCT administration to urgently address locations vulnerable to flooding. Obiasogu David also expressed concerns over the severity of the flooding, sharing an image of the event center in Gudu, which he said was completely inundated by flood water. Abdullah Musa, another resident, said the flooding caused serious disruptions to movement, with motorists forced to wait for the water to recede or look for alternative routes. Chinedu Okafo, a motorist, expressed concerns over the possible damage to vehicles caught in the flood. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Trust newspaper with the headline, Flood, residents stranded, vehicles submerged in Abuja.
Yes, taking headlines from the Sun newspaper, talking business. First Bank takes pension settlement campaign to 6 cities. Now the details. First Bank has launched a nationwide road show to sensitize its legacy pensioners on an approved framework designed to resolve long-standing pension-related issues. The roadside, which began on August 18, and will run until September 3, 2026, will take the bank's engagement to 6 locations: Lagos, Ibadan, Benin, Enugu, Abuja, and Kaduna. The pension settlement framework is one of the off-settlement initiative for eligible former employees who retired under the bank's defined benefit pension scheme. It was designed in partnership with the Nigerian Union of Pensioners (NUP) under the Guardians of the National Pension Commission (PENCOM). According to First Bank, the initiative is intended to provide a final and sustainable resolution to pension-related matters raised by eligible legacy pensioners. The roadshow will give pensioners an opportunity to obtain first-hand information about the framework, seek clarification on its provision and benefit, and raise concerns directly with representatives of the bank and other relevant stakeholders. Olumuyiwa Olulaja, Group Head, Human Capital Management and Development, First Bank Group, said the initiative reflected the bank's appreciation of the contribution made by its former employees. For more details, see the Sun newspaper with this headline. First Bank takes pension settlement campaign to 6 cities.
Still on the Daily Trust newspaper, talking 2027, Tinubu's future bright in Osun, says Orji Kalu. And now to the details. Former Governor of Abia State and Senator representing Abia North Senatorial District, Senator Orji Kalu, has declared the President Bola Tinubu's prospects in Osun State are very bright ahead of the 2027 general election. Kalu said the president would enjoy strong support from stakeholders across the political spectrum, including members of the All Progressive Congress (APC) and the Accord Party in Osun State. He made the statement in a release issued by his media office following President Tinubu's congratulatory message to Osun State Governor Senator Ademola Adeleke on his re-election. Kalu congratulated Governor Adeleke on his victory while commiserating with the APC leadership, stakeholders, and the party's governorship candidate over the outcome of the election. The former Abia State Governor also expressed appreciation to the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy and the former Governor of Osun State, Alhaji Gboyega Oyetola, for his special contribution to the development of the state. According to Kalu, the outcome of the Osun governorship election is a reflection of democracy at work and should be respected by all stakeholders. Kalu maintained that the outcome of the election should not be interpreted as a setback for President Tinubu, stressing that the president's political prospect in Osun remains very strong ahead of the 2027 presidential election. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Trust newspaper with the headline 2027, Tinubu's future bright in Osun, says Orji Kalu.
Yes, now talking sport from the Sun newspaper, where we have Galatasaray president gives update on Osimhen's future. Now the details. Galatasaray president Doxmont Osberg has stated that the Turkish club will not consider any offer for Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen during the summer transfer window. Osimhen has been linked with a move to Premier League champions Arsenal, with the Gunners reportedly interested in signing the forward. Arsenal also said to be considering including Brazilian winger Gabriel Martinelli and a young midfielder Ethan Nwaneri as part of a potential deal for the Nigerian international. For details of that news, see the Sun newspaper with this headline. Galatasaray president gives update on Osimhen's future.
Still on the Daily Trust newspaper, unforgivable failure. Article 8, Tinubu over trillions spent on alien refineries. And now to the details. Presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, Atiku Abubakar, has told President Bola Tinubu to stop hiding behind the failures of his predecessors and account for the enormous resources committed to Nigerians' refineries under his own watch. Atiku said it was the extraordinary act of political escapism for President Tinubu to now speak about inherited refinery liabilities when his own administration financed the facilities, celebrated their supposed rehabilitation, and presented their return to operations as evidence of the success of his renewed hope agenda. In a statement issued by Senior Special Assistant in Public Communication Frank Shaibu, Atiku said the members tell a story that propaganda cannot erase. An NPC financial record shows that the combined obligation of Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna refineries to the National Oil Company rose from approximately 4.52 trillion naira at the end of 2023 to 8.67 trillion naira at the end of 2024, an increase of about 4.15 trillion naira in a single year under President Tinubu. Atiku said, and I quote, President Tinubu cannot have eat both ways. When the cameras were rolling in November 2024, his government told Nigerians that the Port Harcourt refinery was back. NNPC announced that it was operating at 70% capacity and expressly presented it as an achievement under President Tinubu's leadership. Now that the celebration has turned out into an embarrassment, the same administration wants Nigerians to believe that the refineries are merely liabilities inherited from previous government. Mr. President, you claimed the refineries when you thought it was working. You cannot disown it now that the smoke has cleared. Atiku said the indictment becomes even more devastating because Tinubu's own NNPC leadership had subsequently admitted that the refineries were operating at a monumental loss and that the country was effectively wasting money. So Nigerians deserve answers. If the combined obligation of this refineries jumped by more than 4 trillion naira in 2024 alone, what exactly did Nigerians receive in return? Where did the money go? What are the products? Where are the savings Nigerians were promised? Where is the refinery your government celebrated before television cameras? You cannot spend 3 years claiming credit for everything that appears to work and blaming your predecessors for everything that fails. Leadership does not work that way. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Trust newspaper with the headline, Unforgivable Failure, Atiku hits Tinubu over trillions spent on alien refineries.
We are still taking headlines from the Punch newspaper where we have Ekiti government probes other complaints once against panic. Now the details. The Ekiti state government has called for calm following residents' complaints of offensive odor in part of Ado-Ekiti, the state capital. The State Commissioner for Information, Taiwo Olatunbosun, assured residents of the government's commitment to protecting lives and properties and ensuring their safety and well-being. Olatunbosun said in a statement made available in Ado-Ekiti on Sunday that the state government has continued coordinated investigation, inspection and surveillance across the locations where reports of an obnoxious odor have been received as part of effort to address an environmental nuisance associated with the situation. The commissioner stated that following report from residents that the state government began coordinated investigative activities across affected locations while engaging relevant institutions and experts to review the situation, share information, and determine practical measures to trace the source of the odor. He assured residents that the government would continue to coordinate its investigation and take all necessary measures to address any environmental or public health concerns in the state. The commissioner said the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources had also undertaken air and gas analysis as part of the ongoing effort to obtain scientific information and could assist in identifying the nature and a possible source of the reported odor. He assured residents that the situation is being closely monitored. The state government is working with relevant agencies and experts to ensure that the matter is properly investigated and appropriate measures taken to normalize the situation. For details of that news, see the Punch newspaper with this headline. Ekiti government probes odor complaints warns against panic.
And now to the nation's newspaper, UNIZIC condemns lecturers' alleged sexual misconduct. And now to the details. The management of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, UNIZIC, Alka, Anambra State, has expressed sadness about alleged physical assault and attack on yet-to-be-identified lecturer in the Department of Chinese Studies, Faculty of Art, following alleged attempted sexual misconduct involving a female student of the university. Director Information and Public Relations, the IPR, Alayusuz Atta, in a statement described as unfortunate the resort to violent self-help or any form of jungle justice under any circumstance. It said the university management directed immediate, comprehensive and impartial investigation to establish the fact and circumstances surrounding the incident. The statement said, and I quote, videos of the incident which occurred within the university environment on the 15th of August have since gone viral on various social media platforms. Management is deeply saddened by the unfortunate incident and condemns resort to violence, self-help or any form of jungle justice under any circumstances. The Vice-Chancellor of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Professor Ugochukwu Anyehe, said has consistently reaffirmed the university's zero-tolerance policy towards sexual misconduct, harassment and all forms of inappropriate behavior. At the same time, management emphasizes that allegations of misconduct must be handled through established institutional procedures and due process. No individual or group is permitted to take the law into their hands within the university environment. The matter is currently under full review with the appropriate administrative process activated to ensure justice is served fairly and objectively to all parties involved. The university remains committed to protecting the dignity, safety and well-being of its workers and students and will continue to take decisive actions against any conduct that violates these principles. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the nation's newspaper with the headline, UNIZIC condemns lecturers' alleged sexual misconduct. Yes, our time is fast spent on the program this morning, and with that, we've come to a wrap in today's edition of In the Papers. We sincerely hope this review has kept you informed of conversations making rounds in the papers this morning. Stay tuned to iPower 102.7 FM for this list